everybody. My name is Suzanne Moore, Wilkes County Librarian. See my messy office. Got stuff all over the place here today. But I just wanted to say hello and thank goodness it's March. The weather's warming up. We got a little rain to mess with here, but that's making the flowers grow. Today is March the 7th. It's our first Thursday, and every first Thursday at 2, we have a tea at 2 time. So grab your tea and join me for a little book talk. I do want to mention a couple of new exciting items, things going on here in the library, but after that, I think I'm going to start just telling you all about different books that you might be interested in reading. We've got a lot of great book clubs that we highlight here in our library as well as in our branch library location. But the first big news to tell you about is our library delivery lockers. What's a library locker? Well, in case you're unable to visit the library during opening hours because of your job or where you live or because of transportation issues, you can still borrow material. You just go into our website, search the catalog, the card catalog to find the items that you're looking for. You can place them on hold and ask for them to be delivered to the library lockers. And there you can pick them up at your convenient hour, after hours when the library's not open, on the weekends, anytime that works best for you. Now, the library lockers are located in Wilkesboro, which is right over there next to the Community Commons area, past the Heritage Museum, right beside Cook's Outfitters. It's a new fixture there. We're about to have them wrapped up with a real recognizable library design, but right now they're just gray lockers. We've got some really cool library magnets sticking to them, so if you go out there and you want one of those magnets, it's got our phone number and information and everything. Take a magnet, stick it on your fridge, keep it somewhere handy so you'll know how to get in touch with us. But what will happen is you'll put your books on hold, ask for them to be delivered to a locker. Once the books are pulled and ready for delivery, you'll receive an email or a text message that will say your books are ready and they're in the library lockers. And you'll go down there with a special PIN number. You'll pop that number in on the combination pad, and whatever locker has your materials will open up and you'll be able to get your materials out. And then you can have some books or movies or magazines or things of that sort that you might want to check out and borrow from us. The other thing to note is there is not a library return box over there, but our library has an outdoor return receptacle outside our building on the top floor and on the bottom floor in the bottom parking lot or right out here on 10th Street. You can bring your books back when you're done with them at any time as well. That is convenient to you. Just don't bring them back to the locker because there's nowhere to put them. Bring them back to our main location, and that'll be great to be able to get something out and enjoy it. That's what we're here for. We have lots of cool and interesting things to share. And the next thing to let you know on, we just received a new vending machine and it is not quite ready for use, but it's installed and you may see it when you pull up on 10th Street. It's a special vending machine. We got some funding last year with opioid settlement funds. This is a crisis that we're battling across the nation, not just here locally. There are 9 people every day that overdose with, unfortunately, there's serious crisis with the opioids and the fentanyl and harmful drugs that are out and about. And well, what we want to do to help battle this epidemic is not only to just educate and share some ways to understand addiction, trying to break a stigma about it and get people the help they need, but we want to keep them alive too. So we're going to be offering Narcan or Noxolone nasal spray in our machine, as well as fentanyl test strips. And these are some things that are useful to reduce the harm that these drugs cause. So as a distribution point and to offer harm reduction services in our community, we will be partnering up with Project Lazarus. to put some medications available in that machine. And you may come by and pop in and get what you need. It's a free vending machine, and we just hopefully, folks will abide by the honor system and take what they need and not take everything. We leave some for other people, but we'll be monitoring that machine pretty closely to make sure that it's stocked. Hopefully by the first or middle of next week, we'll have our inventory in the machine. If you pull up on 10th Street and you see the vending machine out front, that's pretty cool. It's about to be useful here in the next few days. Also, keep an eye out because we'll be offering some special programming so you can understand more about what the good for harm reduction is, what means there are, and why that is a crucial part of recovery and understanding and not judging. We don't want to have judgment on folks for anything, and we want to offer um, positive, well received methods for helping people through those struggles. Now, let's talk about my favorite thing. Let's talk about books. I want to read everything I see. And I've got stacks of books on my desk. You can see not just the books, but a bunch of paperwork too. Let me tell you what we're reading and when we're talking about these things, because we love for you to participate and join us in conversation about what's to be read. Well, let me start off with this topic here. Yeah, this is a big fat book, right? Passing the Time in Ballymoney, I guess is how it's pronounced. This is an Irish village, and Henry Glassy did 7 years of research, and it's a very extensive volume. I know that looks like intimidating, but our Reading Trap Book Club is tackling this piece by piece. Members have asked to find a particular section of the book that they can read and share with everyone at the next get-together. We will all talk about our own particular part. It's not like a book that you read from cover to cover like a story. But it is full of stories. It's got songs, old Irish songs and tales and folklore, and I think it's pretty timely with St. Patrick's Day around the corner to read some works by Henry Glassy. But let me tell you who Henry Glassy is, by the way. See, here's a picture of him. He is celebrating a birthday this month, and that is why we chose to read his book. And this book, by the way, is also on the recommended list of books that you must read before you die. I'm looking for my phone because, when I read, I take notes on my phone, and I had some really beautiful lyrical quotes that he's put together with his research in the various folks that he talked to. Now, Ballymoney is just like a little rural village in Ireland, and you may be familiar with Foxfire books here in the United States, in the Appalachian area, actually, where stories and old ways of living were collected. So this, I kind of say, is similar. It's kind of like a Irish version of Foxfire. And let me just share. I like to share a quote with you. One of my favorite things to do is to note special phrases or sentences, or even a whole paragraph maybe, that speak to me, that have something unique to say, or something, maybe a lyrical way of saying something that I think is just, I want to remember it, so I keep a note on my phone. It's me. So here's an example about quiet, and quiet is something that's highlighted in his research, because when you're quiet, you can kind of get a sense of the world around you, and this might be a little bit food for thought, is what I'm thinking here. So here's what it says. To be quiet is not to be silent. People sitting wordlessly cannot help but think. Thinking cannot help but make them sad, for the world is hard, life is short. As the mind drops into sadness, the soul is drawn toward despair, and despair pulls the body out of connection, snapping the bonds of obligation that bind people together, sucking the soul toward damnation. Silence is not harmless. It brings disengagement. As surely as the evil tongue, silence threatens the destruction of the self and the community. Oh, pretty heavy there, and maybe not as uplifting as you might like, but it's a difference there between being quiet and being silent. I think one of my favorite things to note, I've heard before and I always go back to fall on, is silence is violence. So, we need to speak out. We need to support each other. We need to speak up and help each other with things that we're struggling with in life, like the Narcan vending machine. We don't want to just sit silently by while someone fades away. We want to have life-saving medication to revive them and give them a chance to appreciate life and understand the purpose for us in this world is help each other. And then another quote that I really like, because I love poetry and I love music, and I just thought this was a cool way of talking about poems. Poems are the highest when writing airs as a song. So it's like song is like the poem riding through the air in your head. I've always got music on in the background when I'm not reading. But come out and visit with us, whether or not you've had time to read or look through Henry Glassey's book. You don't even have to read the book. What I want to do is invite you to our branch library every month for the second Thursday. That's a week from today, when we get together and celebrate various authors on their birthday. I will say that it's not necessarily on their birthday, but the month of their birthday. Henry Glassey's birthday, by the way, is March 24th. And it took him over 7 years to go through and document the lives and the different lives, the lifeways, the music, and the stories of this rural community. Passing Time in Ballymonon is in Northern Ireland. We're going to have, we always have a meeting at noon so we can eat when we talk. And we usually eat something that's good and relates to our story. So here with our meeting being next Thursday, which, by the way, you may not be aware, is also known as Pie Day, right? I'm not talking about just any old pie. The reason why we call March 14th is Pie Day is you may be a mathematician and get it, or you might be like me and struggle with numbers, but the mathematical formula for a perfect circle is 3.14. So that's why we call it pi. And 314, March 14th is Pie Day. So at our conversation on Henry Glassey, his life and his work, we're going to have shepherd's pie, a nice Irish dish. We'd invite you to come out and visit with us. Our books always have a movie that relates to the story. For this particular book, there was not a movie. This is just a book of a collected anthology, so to say. But we did last Saturday have the film The Magical Language of Leprechauns. And leprechauns are a mythical creature, person, little people from Ireland, and there's a lot of story around them. That film, The Magical Language of Leprechauns, was really good. If you'd like to watch it and you didn't get to see it with us at the cinema, we can get a copy on CD here that you can borrow from the library as well. But remember, Henry Glassey, his birthday this month. Come and join us for a conversation about his book, Passing the Time in Ballymonon. The books that we read and talk about for literary birthdays are part of a series called The Reading Trap, because the club meets in Trap Hill at the branch library. The club always meets on the second Thursday at noon. If you can get away, come and join us. Whether or not you've read the book, you're going to have a great time. Good to meet new people, have fun with food and conversation and talking about books. Now, Next Thursday might be on your short notice list, right? You might not have enough time to prepare yourself. So I'm going to give you a heads up for what we're doing in April. So now April is coming just around the corner, and you can start now reading on the books that we're discussing in April. We will be celebrating the birthday of Hans Christian Andersen. Hans Christian Andersen. You might be familiar with this fella. He was born on April the 2nd. Here's a quote of his. Most of the people who will walk after me will be children. So make the beat keep time with short steps. Yeah, we are going to read some children's books. You know, Hans Christian Andersen is noted to be one of the most beloved fairy tale writers. And his birthday is on April 2nd. He was born in 1805. So we're reading a lot of stories that have come down through the ages. You may already have heard these, read these in your growing up days. You might be a young one who you might be just getting into reading and knowing what these books are all about. But he actually wrote 156 stories, and he wrote them in 9 different volumes. Now, you don't have to read all his stories, just like you didn't have to read all of Passing the Time in Ballymanon. What you can do is choose 1 or 2 if you would like. And let me just tell you what my favorite one is. This is my all-time favorite one. I read it when I was a little girl. Little Mermaid. The real Little Mermaid, not the Disney version. So this one has some beautiful illustrations. There's a ship at the bottom of the sea. I don't know if you see that. They all have beautiful illustrations. There's the Little Mermaid down here in the waves, and she's watching the fireworks going off on the shore. And I think that's when she's wishing for her feet, so she can get out of the water and go where the humans are. Pictures and things in here that you might enjoy looking at. Little Mermaid might be one of your favorites. Maybe you haven't read it, but we've got plenty of these books available. Another big volume here. Yeah, the White Swan. You might remember the Emperor's New Clothes. Do you remember the Emperor's New Clothes? That was kind of a silly story. He didn't even realize that he was naked in that story. Ooh, naked. You have to find out how that happened. The little match girl, now she stole my heart. This little girl was freezing cold, and she was lighting matches in the wintertime to keep herself warm. Kind of a glare with the cover of the book here, but let's see what the inside is, if we have a good photo to look at. Here she is. She's sitting outside the doorway, lighting matches in the snow to stay warm. And this one's kind of sad, but it's very bittersweet. She gets warmth in the end. I don't want to spoil the story. Looking for that one, you might enjoy that one. This was always another favorite, Princess and the Pea. If you're a real princess, you're going to feel that pea way down there on the bottom, even through all the mattresses. Because princesses are soft and delicate, and any little thing that interferes with their sleep, like a little pea on the bottom, they're going to know about it. Find out what happened with her. Or another, this is kind of related to Hans Christian Andersen's book, Thumbelina. This is Brave Thumbelina. Thumbelina was a little bitty person, not like a leprechaun. And then, of course, there's the Ugly Duckling. I mean, there's so many good books, fairy tales that you might want to explore and to read about. Now, I mentioned the Reading Trap will be meeting every second Thursday at the branch, but the Reading Trap has a companion program that we meet here in town, North Wilkesboro, at Two Rivers Cinema. We always show some kind of film that relates to the book. It's sometimes a film about the book or the movie that the book is based on. For the month of April, And the film program is always on the first Saturday at 1 o'clock. So save the date and come out and join us for that. The film that we're watching in April is on April the 6th at Two Rivers Cinema, and it's the life story of Hans Christian Andersen. It says this is not a story of his life. Well, I just said it was, but really what they're referring to, it's a fairy tale about a great spinner of fairy tales. And there'll be some highlights from some of his favorite, well-loved books all throughout. There's like, when I mentioned The Little Mermaid, there's a ballet version of The Little Mermaid in this film, which I cannot wait to see that. So, the authors of the month, Henry Glassy this month in March, Hans Christian Andersen next month in April. Come by the library, pick up your brochures, check out some books, mark the calendar. You'll find lots of good, fun things to learn and talk about while we're reading those books together. Now, my coworker Mara Lynn, she has a monthly book club as well, and actually she has two. So let me tell you about the first one. She leads a group called Talking Service. It's Talking Service Book Club, and this is about war times and military stories of military interest. It's geared to veterans, but also active duty, also caretakers or loved ones of veterans, family members are invited to participate. Anybody is welcome to join the Talking Service Book Club if you're interested in learning more about war and understanding cultural boundaries and understanding more about these historical things. So they always meet on the second Friday, which is a week from tomorrow, the second Friday in March. And that is, what is my mistake in there? Next week, that's the 15th, March the 15th. And they meet at 10 o'clock here in our library, downtown North Wilkesboro. So in next week's book club for Talking Service, they're reading A Tale of Madness, Medicine, and the Murder of a President. It's called Destiny of the Republic. And this is all about President James Garfield and how he was assassinated. I haven't read this yet myself, but I'm really looking forward to diving in on it this weekend. It is really interesting to understand. This happened in 1880, and he was a remarkable man, and he was shot by a madman. You know, we all know about Kennedy, and we all know about Lincoln. Did you remember or forget about Garfield? I kind of forgot about Garfield, but in this story, you're going to uncover the suspense that led up to his murder and his assassination, and understand, that really happened. He brought a whole new dimension to American politics. He had vision and he had integrity, and he was somebody different in office for his time. He was passionate. He was an advocate of freed slaves and a reformer. He was a devoted father and a man who gave spellbinding speeches. President James Garfield. I got to learn about him. He's one of those guys that I remember when we memorized all the presidents from George Washington to our current times, but maybe didn't so much know about everything that happened during their presidential reign and their history of their accomplishments. But this is just going to be a great conversation. You want to join us for the Talking Service Book Club to find out more about Destiny of the Republic. And by the way, I will say it's encouraged for you to read our books, but sometimes you can find them on audio and you can listen to them. Sometimes you can pull up interviews by the author on YouTube and hear a little background that way. So I don't necessarily restrict the groups to people who only to people who have read the book. Yeah, this group is wide open, whether you read the book or not read the book. It's a good opportunity to get together with other people for conversation and learn things. And you might be inspired to want to pick up the book and read it, and that would be something that you're able to do after the group meets, not before. If you have no time to read beforehand, don't let that keep you from coming. Is what I'm trying to say. So, as mentioned, Marlene has two book clubs. Her next book club meets on March 19th. The next date for her book club is March 19th, and they're reading this biography. It's a memoir, so to say, by Jeanette Walls. It's called Half Broke Horses. And you may be familiar with her story. She also had a book called The Glass Castle. This is her childhood growing up with moments of pride, pain, struggle. It looks like, a group of kids. They're kind of actually, the stories in this book are more of the stories of her mother growing up. She kind of dives back into time, and there was a lot of prejudice back in those days against women, and especially even Native Americans. And this time frame, in the early Victorian era, when you might not be able to drive a car or take a regular job, as women today can, pretty much do what men do. Back then, they were restricted to the home front. But this is talking about how Jeanette's mother raised her, how she was raised during the Great Depression days. It's a little bit of a personal tragedy story, but it is something that you will enjoy learning about and understanding a little bit more, especially if you read The Glass Castle, because Jeanette Walls is amazing. I'm not sure if this book is made into a book, but I know this is going to be a good story, and I love that little girl with the kitty cat in her hands. It's like, I love this little kitty cat. So this will be a very good conversation as well. And then to get ready for April, I'll tell you now, with the books just came in, so come by and pick up a copy of The Good Earth by Pearl Buck. We have the book club, but in case you didn't know, April is also National Poetry Month. And so when the book club was looking for what to read, they were looking for a book that read like poetry, a novel that read like poetry. And this book is a winner of a Pulitzer Prize. It is a great modern classic, and this is about China and when the last emperor reigned, and there was a lot of political and social upheavals in that time frame. Even, the ordinary people, the ones that work the earth. And this is just all about the changes that occurred in the lives of Chinese people during that early century. This is another one that I got 3 books I want to read. I'm already like overwhelmed, but that's the best thing to do, especially on a rainy day. And I know we're going to have some rain this weekend. This is my passion, is want to read everything I see, so I'm trying to fit it all in. And like I said, listening, audiobooks are just as easy to pick up and download on your car, phone, or play and read it with your ears if you don't have time to sit still with a book in your hand and read it that way. I want to make sure I didn't forget anything. Oh, yes, I have a poster. I don't have any books in hand right now. We've got some on hold. But I want to recommend this series of books through the North Carolina Humanities Council. Okay, they have a program called North Carolina Reads, and each month they stream a live conversation with the author. They host in different libraries across the state. But what we do here in our county library is we Zoom and invite you to join us at the library to tune in with the Zoom, so we can have our conversation amongst ourselves, but we can also listen and hear what other people are thinking across the state. And so the book that they're reading for the month of March And by the way, the conversation here is going to take place on March 28th. And if you aren't able to come and visit with us to participate online, there is a way that you can register yourself and watch it from your home computer, your phone, wherever you might be. Last month I was traveling, so I was able to watch and listen to the life story of Daryl Hunt in Virginia at my parents' house. And that was fun because they got to sit and listen with me. But on March 28th at 6 o'clock, come up to the library with us, and we're going to be reading, or they're going to be reading across the state. We're going to be talking about poster girls. You see this girl, it kind of reminds me of Rosie the Riveter. This is another book I'm waiting to get my hands on. Let's see here what it says. Maggie Sloan and Cora Bell, both of them work at Charlotte's largest wartime employer, the massive and dangerous shell assembly plant. A shared love of literature spurs an unlikely friendship between Cora and Maggie, and the two work together to unify the plant's workforce. So it's not a true story, but it is a fictional story. Historical fiction is kind of based on history and things that actually may have happened in our past. So they've got a fictional spin. You know, they create characters that tell the story about our history. And the women on the home front, they were the ones that helped us fight and win that war. I know our men were out there in the trenches and on the battlefields, but the women were the backbone and supporting on the home front. And a lot of them had to take jobs back then. You know, we were mentioning, I'm going to do the comparison, right? We were mentioning the Depression era when it was hard for women to get a job outside of the house. World War II, women were getting jobs, working in the factories. And so join us to hear more about poster girls. And I did mention this happened in Charlotte, right? At a shell assembly plant. They were assembling shells for ammunition. Well, the last book we read was about the life sentence of Daryl Hunt, and that is a North Carolina story about a man who was falsely tried and exonerated after serving 20 years. Every story on the NC Reads list took place somehow or related somehow to a time frame in our state, and at a place in our state. So we've got to look forward to a couple of more. I don't have all the details yet, but we're going to be showcasing a little bit about North Carolina's history and culture with the North Carolina NC Reads collection. NC Reads 2024. Get these books, put them on your to read list. What a variety here. We've got Irish literature. We've got fairy tales for all ages, not just children. We've got some memoirs from the Depression times. We've actually got another historical nonfiction book about James Garfield, a presidential story with the elections going on, with all the things that are happening in politics today. It's kind of interesting to compare what was going on in earlier years ago, to today's day and time. And of course, this lyrical, poetic book about the good earth. I think this was chosen for two reasons. Earth Day is in April, and Poetry Month. National Poetry Month is in April. So books, all the books you want. Also, I will say, and I'll remind you next time we talk to keep in mind that in April we're going to have a visit from Jackie Shelton Green. She is our poet laureate from the North Carolina State Poet. She was appointed in 2018, reappointed for a second term in 2021 by Governor Roy Cooper. She's the first African American and the third woman to serve as a North Carolina Poet Laureate. And she's the first poet in residence of the North Carolina Museum of Art. So we are so excited. We're going to be talking her up, and she's coming at the end of April. So if you can join us to meet her and hear her readings and listen, some of her poetry, it would be just an amazing time to get to meet her at our library. How cool is that? So I'm gonna let you go. I know we chit chat for a long time about books, but I don't want to neglect to say there are all sorts of programs, books, book clubs, book conversations, but other programs that are more hands-on for all ages. And join us at the library to participate in other activities. You can get all the information you need by following our Facebook page. If you're on social media, we post it and we set up events all the time to remind you when these things are happening. But we have regular programs for all the little bitty babies all the way up, and all different ways to become involved here at the library. So check out our website, look for our calendars and our events on Facebook, and happy reading.